Love in the moonlight. It was a quiet night, the kind where the only sounds were the rhythmic ticking of the clock and the occasional whisper of the wind against the curtains. I had been exhausted from a long day, barely managing to change into my nightgown before collapsing onto my bed. Sleep came quickly, wrapping me in a cocoon of warmth and silence. Then, in the middle of the night, something stirred in my room. I felt a soft touch on my cheek, featherlight and hesitant. My brows furrowed, but I didn't wake. A few moments later, I felt another touch, this time on my forehead, like a gentle tap of curiosity. Slowly, I blinked my eyes open, adjusting to the dim glow of the bedside lamp. And there he was, my little son, Liam, standing beside my bed with a mischievous grin on his tiny face. "Mommy," he whispered, his voice a mixture of excitement and innocence. "I made something for you." I sat up, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. "What is it, sweetheart?" Without a word, Liam climbed onto the bed and carefully placed something on my lap. It was a card, handmade, decorated with messy but adorable crayon scribbles, and little stickers of hearts and stars. My heart melted instantly. "I made it for you because you're the best mommy ever," he said with a proud smile. I ran my fingers over the uneven edges of the paper, my chest tightening with emotion. "Oh, Liam, this is beautiful." But then, just as I was about to hug him, he added, "And Uncle Daniel helped me." At the mention of Daniel, my heartbeat faltered for an entirely different reason. Daniel was my late husband's best friend. After losing Michael, he had been there for me and Liam, always offering support, always helping when I needed him most. And yet, I had never allowed myself to see him as anything more than that. Until now. Liam, unaware of the sudden turmoil in my mind, giggled. "Uncle Daniel said you work too much and forget to smile, so we made this together." A warmth spread through me, different from the motherly love I felt for my son. It was something deeper, something I had tried to ignore for too long. "Did Uncle Daniel say that?" I asked softly. Liam nodded enthusiastically. "He said you deserve all the happiness in the world." My fingers tightened around the card, my heart pounding. It was just a small gesture, but it meant something. Perhaps it was time to stop running from my feelings. I kissed Liam's forehead and tucked him into bed beside me. As he drifted off to sleep, I stared at the ceiling, my mind filled with thoughts of Daniel, of love, of second chances. Maybe, just maybe, happiness was knocking at my door once again. To be continued. Love in the moonlight. A midnight surprise. The soft rustling of the sheets stirred me from a deep sleep. I groggily opened my eyes, adjusting to the dim light of the bedside lamp. It took me a moment to realize that my 5-year-old son, Liam, was standing beside my bed, his small hands reaching out toward me. "Mommy," he whispered, his voice filled with excitement. "Wake up." I blinked, still half asleep. "Liam, sweetheart, it's late. What's wrong?" Liam climbed onto my bed, his tiny legs struggling to get up before he finally nestled beside me. With a grin, he held out something, a handmade card, decorated with uneven hearts, stars, and what looked like a very messy drawing of 2 stick figures. "I made this for you," he announced proudly. A sleepy smile spread across my face as I sat up and took the card. "Oh, baby, this is beautiful. Did you do this all by yourself?" Liam giggled and shook his head. "Nope. Uncle Daniel helped me." At the mention of Daniel, my heart skipped a beat. Daniel Carter, my late husband's best friend. My closest confidant for the past 3 years. The man who had been there for me through every tear, every struggle, every lonely night. The man I had tried so hard not to fall for. Lingering emotions. "Uncle Daniel said you always take care of me but forget to take care of yourself," Liam continued, snuggling into my side. "So, we made this for you because you deserve to be happy." I swallowed the lump in my throat, running my fingers over the rough edges of the card. My eyes burned, but I refused to cry. Daniel had always been like that, thoughtful, kind, always putting me first. After Michael, my late husband, passed away, he had stepped in without hesitation. At first, he was just helping a grieving widow, a little boy who had lost his father. But somewhere along the way, things had changed. I had changed. I shook off the thoughts and kissed Liam's forehead. "Thank you, Sweetheart. This means the world to me. Liam yawned, his eyelids growing heavy. Mommy, do you love Uncle Daniel? I froze. The innocent question hung in the air, twisting my heart in ways I wasn't ready for. Love. Could I love Daniel? Hadn't I spent all this time convincing myself that he was just a friend? But before I could answer, Liam had already drifted off to sleep. Yet, sleep never came for me that night. The man who stayed. The next morning, I found Daniel in my kitchen, flipping pancakes like he belonged there. And maybe, in some ways, he did. Morning, sleepyhead, he greeted with a knowing smile. I folded my arms and leaned against the counter. You stayed over again. He shrugged. Liam wanted to finish his project for you. I figured it was easier than driving back and forth. Liam, still in his pajamas, ran up to Daniel and hugged his leg. Uncle Daniel, did Mommy like her surprise? Daniel turned to me, raising an eyebrow. Well, did she? I met his gaze, my stomach flipping. There was something different in his eyes today, something intense, something waiting. She loved it, I said softly. And I wasn't just talking about the card. Chapter 4. Facing the truth. For days, I tried to ignore the shift in my emotions. But it was impossible when Daniel was always there, helping Liam with his homework, fixing things around the house, bringing me coffee just the way I liked it. One evening, after putting Liam to bed, I found Daniel in the living room, staring at an old picture of Michael. You miss him? I asked. Daniel sighed. Every day. I walked over and sat beside him. Me too. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, Daniel said, but I've also spent every day wondering if it's okay to feel something else. Something new. My heart pounded. Daniel. He turned to me, his blue eyes filled with hesitation and longing. I've loved you for a long time, Emily. I just never thought you'd be ready to hear it. I felt my breath hitch. Daniel. He smiled sadly. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. I looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who had held me together when I was breaking, who had cared for my son as if he were his own. And suddenly, I knew. I reached for his hand, lacing my fingers through his. I think, I was just scared. Daniel's thumb brushed against my skin. And now, I exhaled, feeling the weight of years of grief lifting. Now, I'm ready to stop being scared. For the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to hope. And when Daniel leaned in, pressing the softest, most patient kiss to my lips, I realized, love had found me again. And this time, I was ready.